nature's rhythms. I once heard a quantum biologist use the concept that that the biorhythms are like, what did she say? Something like God's nervous system or the divine pulse. It's like where the sacred meets the earth, where the heaven meets earth is literally in the biorhythms of life. Much in the same way that so many of us, our health of our nervous system depends on the kind of rhythms that we were provided when we were an infant, the kind of rhythms our environments created, and literally even, the rocking motions or the soothing sounds and the cadences going up and down, that sort of lilting sound of like a female voice that's designed for soothing and regulation. That when there's a healthy ventral vagal tone, healthy vagus nerve, there's like a healthy, like kind of wave-like motion to even the sound of someone's voice. It's not just dry and monotone, kind of like this, in which there's no emotionality in it. It has like a lilting, like lifelike, wave-like quality to it because we are literally nested in rhythms. You know, our entire sense of like stability would be lost pretty quickly if the sun didn't rise and set. Um, there's even just a lot of adaptation we have to do if we move time zones when we fly to a different part of the world and we're able to adapt. But there's that like wonky period, which shows us just how tethered we are biologically to the earthly rhythms. And this includes even like the rhythms also in the little microcosm of our body, which is like a planet into itself. So even the in and the out of our breath and the cadence of our heartbeat and the gravitational cycle of the circuitry of the blood through our organs and through our bodies, which is not just gravitational, but also there's also an uplifting energy. So there's like a, and folks who've studied Tai Chi or Chinese medicine or any energy medicine system know that it's more complex than just gravity. There's a lot of other ways that energy circulates and moves. And so there's an upward force and there's a downward force. And these two are actually create a tensegrity that creates a beautiful harmonic synthesis and a coherence between oppositions, which are in harmony and not in tension with each other. And a lot of what I do share about in the longer presentation is that another key concept of the regenerative paradigm is is healthy relationship. Okay, a healthy relationship is a coherent relationship, is one in which difference is respected, but also is contributory to a shared sort of value between the different parts of the system, who also have like a unification in their sense of wholeness and sense of what they are evolving toward or what they're working toward together, right? Just like a symphony has different instruments, but they're not just like la 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 doing their own thing in a vacuum. They're listening for how their particular sound contributes to the whole. They're also not trying to be the same as something else. They're really differentiate. They're really honing and cultivating their unique voice. And there's this kind of a worthiness that comes with knowing that the uniqueness of my voice is actually what's meant to be. And it doesn't mean I don't belong. It actually means that this is how I belong, is in learning how this uniqueness about myself fits into the shared values of the whole. So we don't get stuck on either extreme of doing one's own thing in isolation or losing one's unique identity to completely merge with the whole. And the interesting thing is that there is a kind of rhythm, though, between those two opposites that makes it possible to find this third state, this integrated state of unique and belonging at the same time. And so part of how we can cultivate that healthy relationship with ourselves, with our life, with time, with others, with all the aspects of our life, our work, our parenthood, our purpose, is to actually embrace the rhythmicity that feels good to our nervous system. And one way that I find that's really, really key for me is to be connected with the circadian rhythm and not trying to override that. And what I mean by that is rising with the sun and sleeping with the setting sun, and not stressing my hormones to be trying to produce the wrong kind of hormone, or none of the hormones are wrong, no symptom is wrong, but at the wrong time of day, the time of day that's actually not part of its smooth rhythmicity, right? So like cortisol at night or melatonin during the day. And the autoimmune condition that I had actually was, so everything was so completely, you could say the clock was so broken, the inner nature clock got so out of whack that it was literally like the opposite happening. And that's part of what made my body age so quickly, so that it was like I was in a 90-plus-year-old person's body, quickly becoming decrepit in an accelerated way. It was like reverse Benjamin Button, what was going on. And so it just really showed me in a really visceral way the reality that aging and dying and these things are, they're really, I shouldn't say death, because death itself is a natural, I believe, meant to be an evolution that's actually expansive when one is following nature's codes and nature's rhythms. But what I learned was that like aging and disease of a chronic nature, that's not like a natural movement towards leaving this life, but that's actually a kind of death state within life, and that can lead to a premature death, is literally, you could even define it as being in opposition to nature's law or nature's biorhythms. And this, I won't take the time to go into this short video, but there are many avenues with which one could look at this, including nutrition and exercise and minerals and soil and, air and light and water structure, and lots of different ways, as well as lots of different energetic and emotional ways one could look at this. But I find it really useful just to begin with the very basic container that's like Earth School 101, which is the rising and setting of the sun, and is the like rising of the sun within the body with the sun of the cosmos, and having that whole process be something that's happening in sync, and the setting of the sun in the body happening with the setting of the sun, the cosmos, and having that whole process be in sync. There's a deep regulation that happens with that, that's akin to, no matter how old you are, the same soothing experience that a baby has when they're being rocked in a way that is attuned to their nervous system's needs, that's giving that gentle, like, and also supporting their curiosity and interest to self-individuate, and soothing their need to belong and feel so safe, held, and swaddled, and supporting the need for individuation and becoming one's own person, and soothing also the need for belonging. So this is also deeply connected with secure attachment. So circadian rhythms are, you could say, the Earth's way of providing secure attachment, is the Earth's way of mothering us as humans, as her children. And so if you struggle with attachment, if you struggle with health, if you struggle with feeling lonely, if you struggle with feeling disconnected or out of sorts or out of whack, if you struggle with time or stress or urgency, if you struggle with feeling alone or feeling unmothered or unparented properly, I highly recommend tuning in with the circadian rhythm as a way of reparenting your nervous system and re-establishing, like, or even if you never did establish, but like claiming your right to feel and know that soothing, secure attachment, how that feels, which we all deserve and all of us can access, even if we didn't access it with our physical human parents. And even if there were little bits of it, like those parts will come more to the forefront and become more a part of our nervous system memory. If we can tune into the rhythms of Gaia, her mothering, and her relationship with the cosmic rhythms, the greater rhythms beyond her, you could say our grandparents, our ancestral rhythms. And so there's a deep well of resource that's available to us in reestablishing regulation through circadian rhythm beyond beyond what's maybe immediately available right in front of you. If you're struggling with that, you can take this wider view and let it be holy, let it be sacred, you know. Let yourself actually establish a relationship with the rhythms of the sun and the moon that is as friendly as you might have with another human being. And, you know, they've got our backs, they've got our hormones, they've got our waters, they've got our rhythms. We can count on them.